Hi there, my name is Dr. Kristen White, and I am the Program Director for the Masters in Counseling and other graduate counseling programs at Multnomah University. I am coming to you briefly today to share a little bit about our lay counseling certificate specifically. You might be watching this video because you are considering the program or because you are a military chaplain who has been enrolled in it and want to hear a little bit more about it. So the lay counseling certificate is a 6-credit, 1-year program. Let me kind of give you an overview of the goals and intent of the program, and then I'll talk a little bit more about the actual classes and the logistics there. So this program really was built out of a lot of prayer and a heart to better equip pastors and chaplains related to the mental health needs that they're encountering in their congregations or hospitals or other settings. We recognize this was actually pre-COVID, but even more so post-COVID, mental health needs are everywhere, and many leaders are running into them and may not fully know not only what they're looking at, but how to respond. And so we wanted to take some of the knowledge we have as professional counselors and package it and hand it, hopefully at a very low-cost way, to pastors, church leaders, chaplains, small group leaders, those kinds of folks who have a ministry context where they want to learn more about mental health, mental wellness, mental illness, and how to respond to it. And so really, first of all, this program is not for those pursuing professional counseling. If you decide to do that down the road, we might be able to transfer some classes, but this program is really meant for those doing more lay counseling. That's who it's geared towards. And again, lay counseling often in the context of chaplaincy or pastoring or some other ministry volunteer type position. So our 3 goals for those in the program, one is that participants could better really identify and recognize mental illness, trauma, things like that. So that when you sit down with someone, you can say, oh, that's depression. Clinical depression, not just a bad day, but that's clinical depression. That's clinical anxiety. That's trauma, whatever it may be, so that you have a little bit more of a sense of what those things look like. Again, it's not professional counseling, so we're not looking at diagnosing, we're not looking at full treatment, but to help identify, oh, that's what's happening here. That's why I or this person feels so stuck. That's why this is so hard, because this is actually mental illness or trauma or something along those lines. So that's goal number 1, is recognize. Goal number 2 is to respond. While we cannot and are not trying in the scope of 6 credits to equip students to fully treat those issues that they're recognizing, we know that sometimes you are the first line of defense, that someone may come to their pastor for help in spite of, in the midst of, or because of clinical depression. Could even be real severe. They're considering suicide or something else. There's domestic violence in their marriage, right? There's major trauma and all kinds of things here. And so we recognize that pastors, chaplains, again, all these folks, small group leaders, are often the first line sort of defense and of response to some of these issues. And so we want to help better equip these populations, these helpers, with really just kind of triaging skills. How do you respond in the moment? Again, not how do you fully treat. We can't do that in 6 credits and a year, but how do you triage and respond when this is in your office or you're seeing this in someone you're working with. So those are our first 2 goals, recognize, respond, and then the third one is refer. So to know when to refer to, and by refer I mean to a higher level of care, to professional counseling, to inpatient or residential, or whatever the person needs, right? That doesn't mean you can't still continue working with them, but to know when and how to get the person connected to additional resources. Again, when that's necessary and how to have those conversations, maybe even how to find those resources and kind of build some of those networks. So those are really our 3 goals with this lay counseling certificate: recognize, respond, and refer. The courses are all taught by licensed professional counselors, most of whom have chaplaincy, ministry, or other experience as well. So we are definitely bringing in the counseling side, but hopefully also having the understanding to some degree of some of what you might be experiencing in ministry. Let me think what else I want to say overall. I think that's the main thing overall. So let me talk a little bit more then about the courses and sort of the practical layout of the program. So there are, again, 6 courses, and they're all 1 credit. They could be much more, but that's really aimed to keep the cost and the commitment a little bit lower. It means often in these classes, you're going to feel like you're working hard, but you're also going to run across a lot of optional resources. So we're trying to keep the material accessible, and then offering, if you want to go deeper, here's where you can go deeper, but keeping it as accessible as possible. So all the classes are just 1 credit. They run for 8 weeks, and during those 8-week segments, classes are an hour a week. Right now, this could change when you're watching the video, but right now that's Wednesday morning from 9 to 9:50 a.m. and they're on Zoom. Most professors will try to offer an asynchronous option for those who can't make it, a makeup basically, but ideally students are able to be on Zoom from 9 to 9:50, getting material, doing activities, interacting with their professors, those kinds of things every week, really throughout the whole program. But one single class would be 8 weeks, those 8 hours of class, and then during the week, Monday to Sunday, in addition to that hour of class, there's reading, discussion forums, papers. A lot of the activities and assignments are very real world. So it might actually be role-playing counseling skills with a peer, but it might also be coming up with like an FAQ sheet that you can use in ministry about trauma or depression, or some sort of tool that applies what you're learning, but actually is something you could take out into your context. That's really our goal. So 8-week classes, again, during each week, there's almost an hour, 50 minutes of live Zoom class, makeups if needed, and then a bunch of asynchronous activities that are appropriate to the content. As soon as one class ends, another starts. You can see the classes listed here. The first one is Basic Counseling Skills for Church Ministry, where we look at kind of that responding. What is our basic way that we're responding to mental health or other issues? Those skills will go far beyond just mental illness, but they can definitely be an important foundation for that. The next class looks at ethics, boundaries, and reporting, recognizing that as pastors or chaplains, you all have different ethics codes. So it's looking more at what are some ethical principles as well as the requirements of reporting and things like that, regardless of your scope. And how do you apply those to thrive in your own context? And how does also your own personal stance towards boundaries or other issues come to play there? The next 2 classes go a little bit more into the recognizing part and a little responding. The first one being mood disorders, grief, and loss, and the one after that being anxiety, trauma, and addiction. So much to cover in 16 weeks and 2 credits, but again, we're trying to give you little bits. This is what it looks like, so you can recognize maybe a little bit about how to respond appropriately in your context, and then also here's places to refer and to go deeper if one of these topics really strikes you and you want to learn more. Then the last 2 classes are couples, youth, and family, because we recognize many of you are working with those contexts and again need special, how do we do this with adolescents? Or what do I do about couples that need help? Again, what can I do? How can I respond to them? But also when do I need to recognize that they need a higher level of care, and how do I refer them and continue to walk alongside them in that process? And the last one is crisis and suicide, which obviously kind of comes along all of these so that you're equipped for those situations to recognize, respond, and refer as well. Those are the 6 classes, and they're offered in this order, and we recommend that students start in fall with the basic course, but you actually can jump in any time during the 8 weeks, and if for some reason you have a crisis and you need to skip one, you could pick it up the next year, so they do not have to be completed in this order. I think that is it. I'm trying to think before I let you go. We do offer these classes at a reduced cost because, again, we want to keep it low. We also try to create opportunities to transfer them in or complete these courses along with other degrees, either in our counseling or our seminary programs as well. I think that's it. Please reach out to us if you have questions. You can contact myself directly, kwhite@multnomah.edu, or our program at MAC, Master of Arts in Counseling, mac@multnomah.edu. Thanks so much. Blessings on your journey and prayers that You just have a sense of clarity and discernment about where the Lord is calling you with your ministry and your work. And if this is helpful, that God provides, and the time and the money and the space and all the things, and that you have a lot of life in learning this material. Thanks all. Bye-bye.